Wait a minute, there's a Machamp on a team.
There is a Machamp here, and Machamp, as I went over earlier with Scott, Machamp provides a lot of support in this spread move heavy metagame, in my opinion. Sylveon's popular, as we see in Koki's side. Machamp with that wide guard is going to prevent Sylveon from being able to go for those powerful hyper voices. Heatran is going to be prevented from going for those powerful heat waves, although some Heatrans are currently switching to, single target flamethrower attacks.
Yep.
And of course, Landorus is pretty much the king of
Rock Slide.
King of Rock Slide.
He wears a scarf all the time.
Yeah, exactly. He looks so fashionable with that scarf, by the way.
He really, really does. I'm a little jealous. Got to pick one up myself. Something really cool to note, Mark M, does that M stand for Machamp? Question.
We'll have to see. I think Machamp is going to be a very key Pokemon right here. Wide Guard is going to provide so much support for him. Like I said already, I mean, Heatran, Sylveon, and Landorus are known to go for those spread-type moves, and I think we're going to be seeing a Machamp here.
Without a doubt, and we hear the crowd starting to get fired up. I would really love to see that Machamp hit the field. It's really cool when a unique Pokemon gets to slip through, especially all the way to the World Championship match. We're going to see Koki lead with the Zapdos and the Landorus here. Zapdos, such a bulky Pokemon, honestly, and it has such support in Tailwind and Roost, and then, of course, Mark is going to lead with the Charizard and the Cresselia.
Yeah, and decent lead right here from Mark. We do see the Intimidate go off. Not going to matter too much on Cresselia and Charizard, who are both known to be special attacking Pokemon. Zapdos is going to provide a lot of support here. Can easily set up a Tailwind or go for some offensive firepower onto the Charizard with a Thunderbolt. And of course, Landorus is probably one of Charizard's least favorite Pokemon to see on the field. Carrying such a powerful Rock Slide, being able to do a lot of damage to Charizard off the bat. Mark might want to try to go ahead and go for his own Intimidate, possibly switch in a Landorus if he has it in the back to possibly weaken this Landorus a bit.
Of course, and that leads to a lot of mind games. But we're not going to see that Charizard switch. Instead, we're going to see it Mega Evolve and bring out the sun or the clear skies, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to hit the field. The Zapdos, like you said, I think that it would be really interesting to see Tailwind. That's going to be some crazy speed control. But with the Cresselia there, the Trick Room has to be on your mind a little bit. We're going to see a knockoff go into the crest, doing 40%, knocking off the Mental Herb, which is huge. A Thunderbolt, though, is going to double into that, and the Charizard is going to sit there. All right. Firing off a Flamethrower in the sun. This could be huge. Is the Zapdos? Oh, the Zapdos holds on, but it gets burned. The 10%. We're going to see the Zapdos munch away on that Citrus Berry, so it's not going to faint this turn. But oh my goodness, putting it on a timer as Cresselia goes for the Trick Room.
Yeah, and that's a good Trick Room right there, because now Mark knows that his Charizard is going to be moving before Landorus and Zapdos next turn. Of course, a big burn right there that's going to slowly chip away at that Zapdos. Zapdos, like I said, has a lot of staying power, but right now with that burn, it's just going to slowly get chipped away. The Citrus Berry definitely paid off right there, and I'm pretty sure Koki is thinking that his choice in item there was definitely helpful.
It was fantastic. Zapdos often carrying Citrus, or I believe a lot of safety goggles running around. But Landorus is going to go ahead and switch out, and Koki's going to switch into the Heatran, predicting a Fire type move. But Mark is smiling. He's going to skill swap the Heatran, get rid of that Flash Fire, giving it Levitate because he's not planning on using Earthquakes today. No, instead he wants to set it aflame. Oh my goodness, that's exactly what I was thinking when you were talking about putting Levitate on it. Oh my gosh, goes for the Heat Wave. It's going to connect on both Pokemon, knocking out the Zapdos and doing a ton of damage to the Heatran. The crowd is going absolutely mad right now.
So I remember now that we're pretty much tripping over my own words right there. I said Heatran with the Levitate is going to be pretty dangerous, but Heatran without Flash Fire is a bit weaker because Charizard's going to be firing off those very powerful fire type attacks, and we do see Mark go for Heat Wave and Flamethrower just to bypass possible wide guards if there are out there. So a great play right there from Mark, and he is so ahead in this game right now that Koki has to try to find a way to make a big move. And of course, once you see Kangaskhan hit the field, there's always a possibility.
Of course, and we got to remember the Trick Room is up, so it's going to be tough. Things have to be played right, but if the Kangaskhan is faster, it's going to be moving less, but of course, it does have fake out pressure right now. If it's carrying it, it can really put Mark in a bit of a situation. He looks like he's shaking his head, not too happy with the fact that Kangaskhan tainted, but he's going to go for the Protect with the Charizard. The question is, did Koki target down that slot considering how much damage? Yes, he did, so Mark making a fantastic call. Cresselia is going to fire off an Ice Beam into the Kangaskhan slot just to get a little bit of chip damage off on it as the Heatran goes for the Flamethrower into the Charizard slot. So that's back-to-back perfect turns for Mark M, the Machamp wielder.
Yeah, right there. Probably wanted to try to get that Landorus on a switch, possibly. That's why he targeted it down with an Ice Beam. Of course, Cresselia revealing Skill Swap is going to be a bit dangerous for Kangaskhan to stay in. One thing that I personally love to do is go for those Skill Swaps onto those Parental Bonds and take that Parental Bond away from Kangaskhan, which makes it so powerful.
That sounds like a dangerous time for Koki. So that's where the mind games come in. At this point, does he want to? And you know what? Even if he Skill Swaps that slot, and say Landorus does come in, you're intimidating that Landorus. So it's almost a win-win. But I think picking up the knockout with Ice Beam is going to be a little bit more appreciated So that might be the route that Mark was really thinking about going.
Right, absolutely. And we do see the switch right here from Kangaskhan back into that lander snare and going to go for an Intimidate onto these two special attackers here.
I'm pretty certain I just saw Mark wink at the camera. So we're going to find out if that was a wink of happiness or a wink of, yeah, you know what, I almost called that. We're going to see a protect, though, from the Heatran. So did Mark double into that slot? Is he playing out of his mind? He went for the Ice Beam into the lander, his switch. Oh my goodness, this is going to do a good amount of damage. It looks like the Assault Vest is really coming through, but can this Heat Wave in the sun pick up the knockout? I'm not quite sure. We're going to have to find out. Oh my goodness, it looks like it's going to just barely hang on. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, unfortunately right there, Koki does decide that Kangaskhan is probably going to be the more important Pokemon in this matchup right here. Mark is playing exceptionally well right now. Koki hasn't really been able to go on the offensive once that Trick Room came up, so, you know, we see that Trick Room from a couple turns ago paying off so well, you know. It's put Mark in such a good position to try to take this game in, you know, pretty much a dominated fashion.
Absolutely, and we're going to see Koki just switch right back out into that Kangaskhan, not ready to let go of Landers just yet, and we do already know that it's rocking that Assault Vest. Cresselia going to move first because the Trick Room is still up. Going to do a little bit more chip damage to this Kangaskhan, bringing it down a good amount, and then, of course, a Flamethrower into the Heatran slot is going to pick up that knockout. Oh my goodness, getting rid of that Flash Fire is paying dividends. The Sunlight's going to fade, the Trick Room is going to end, but I think Mark is extremely happy being in this 4-2 situation.
Absolutely, and right now, Koki has to be able to pick up a lot of knockouts here with these two Pokemon. You know, Landers and Kangaskhan, two of the best Pokemon in the format this year. You know, are they going to be able to do it? Are they going to be able to pick up 4 knockouts here? That's going to be a tough question. Landers, of course, is going to be able to threaten with that Charizard with a powerful Rock Slide if it does carry Rock Slide. Cresselia is pretty heavily weakened, and of course Kangaskhan does have Fake Out support right now.
Absolutely, and it looks like the Charizard is just going to return to Mark right now, especially since the sun's not up. I really like that play, switching in the Landers and intimidating both of these physically offensive Pokemon. Always a good option, one, when the sun isn't on your side, and two, when you want to go ahead and intimidate two physical attackers that can no longer switch out. Kangaskhan is going to pick up the knockout on Cresselia, so it looks like Landers might end up taking a bit of damage if Koki's Landers went on the offensive. The Double Edge, of course, is going to have a bit of recoil, and the knockoff is going to knock off Landers' item. As we see, it was the Assault Vest as well.
Yeah, and 2 Assault Vest Landers right there, you know.
In the final.
All right, Assault Vest, probably the better item, and we do see the Machamp.
There's the Machamp! The crowd is going wild right now!
With a shiny Machamp out, Machamp is going to be able to definitely threaten that Kangaskhan with a very powerful Dynamic Punch. And, you know, Machamp itself is a pretty bulky Pokemon, so I don't think Kangaskhan will actually be able to pick up the knockout here in one hit with the Double Edge.
I am so excited that this Machamp is on the field. No, don't you do it. 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 Oh, no. Oh, the Intimidates are paying dividends. This bulky Pokemon is going to take that hit, munch away on its Citrus Berry. I was really excited to see what item it had, considering the Assault Vest was confirmed to be on the Landorus. Let's see what's going to happen for the rest of the turn. More recoil is right there for that Kangaskhan. A Rock Slide is going to come through and connect on both of Mark's Pokemon. The question is this a flinch kind of day? We're going to find out right now. Not very effective. Landorus flinches, but Machamp gets a Dynamic Punch off, ladies and gentlemen, and the Mega Kangaskhan is going to drop to that Machamp. That's a no-guard Dynamic Punch, a move that normally has 50% accuracy, but thanks to that ability, never gonna miss.
Right, and you know, this is kind of reminiscent to a couple years ago when Machamp was in the senior final championships, and you know, Machamp played a pretty big role on that team too, and you see here Machamp taking the big knockout on Kangaskhan as we see Landorus gonna go for a Rock Slide here.
Gonna go for a Rock Slide, last-ditch effort for Koki to kind of just get a few flinches off, but Landorus is gonna connect with the superpower despite being resisted. Game 1 goes to Mark. Machamp, McQuillan, oh my goodness, and a crit to boot, ladies and gentlemen. That was a fantastic match. Oh my goodness. Momentum just could not change into Koki's favor.
Right. I feel like Mark there was actually in the driver's seat the entire game because of, you know, that clutch Trick Room that came up turn 1, right?
Oh,
and
goodness.
One thing that Koki's going to have to do, definitely